From black holes to big ideas, the story of Stephen Hawking is not just a biography. It is an odyssey into the mind of a genius who defied earthly limitations to unravel the most profound mysteries of the cosmos. It is a testament to the indomitable human spirit, a celebration of intellectual curiosity, and a poignant exploration of a life lived on the edge of understanding. Stephen Hawking was more than a physicist. He was a cultural icon, a symbol of hope, and a relentless pursuer of truth. Confined to a wheelchair by the debilitating amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, a condition that gradually robbed him of his motor functions, Hawking transformed his physical adversity into an intellectual advantage. Through the synthesis of brilliant insight, unyielding determination, and technological innovation, he transcended the boundaries of his physical existence, becoming a global ambassador for science and a beacon of inspiration for millions. Book delves into the extraordinary trajectory of Hawking's life, from his early fascination with the cosmos to his groundbreaking contributions to theoretical physics. It explores his pioneering work on black holes, his revolutionary theory of Hawking radiation, and his tireless pursuit of a unified theory of everything, a single equation that could explain the fundamental forces of nature. But this is not just a chronicle of scientific achievements. It is a portrait of a man who embraced life with unwavering resolve, who found humor in the face of adversity, and who cherished the simple joys of family, friendship, and the pursuit of knowledge. The chapters unfold like a cosmic narrative, charting Hawking's intellectual evolution, his struggles, and his enduring legacy. We journey from his childhood among the stars to his formative years at Oxford, where his intellectual spark ignited. We witness his courageous battle against ALS, a diagnosis that threatened to extinguish his brilliance, yet ultimately fueled his determination. We explore his groundbreaking discoveries, his rise to global fame, and his unwavering commitment to communicating science to the masses. Beyond the Horizon also probes the deeper questions that Hawking grappled with throughout his life. The nature of time, the origins of the universe, the possibility of extraterrestrial life, and the ultimate fate of humanity. It examines his enduring legacy, his profound impact on science, culture, and our understanding of ourselves in the grand scheme of existence. This book is an invitation to embark on a journey beyond the horizon, to explore the universe through the eyes of a visionary who dared to challenge the limits of human comprehension. It is a tribute to Stephen Hawking, a man who proved that the greatest discoveries often lie beyond the boundaries of what seems possible, that resilience is a powerful weapon, and that the human spirit, like the universe itself, is boundless and ever-expanding. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to support the channel, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an audiobook that could change your life. Now, let's begin. Enjoy. Chapter 1. A Childhood Among Stars. The Early Years. Stephen William Hawking was born on January 8, 1942, in Oxford, England, a symbolic coincidence marking the 300th anniversary of Galileo Galilei's death. His family environment was one of lively intellect and gentle eccentricity. Stephen's father, Dr. Frank Hawking, was a respected tropical disease researcher, while his mother, Isabel, possessed an equally formidable intellect and a penchant for supporting her son's curiosity. From the outset, young Stephen was encouraged to question and to explore. Hawking's home was riddled with books, quiet debate, and a general disregard for conformity. Dinner conversations often veered from science to history to speculative philosophy, a practice that seeded in Stephen an enduring love of inquiry. Unlike many of his peers, he saw science not as a body of static facts, but as a living adventure, an endless pursuit of questions rather than answers. The physical world fascinated him. By the age of 8, after moving to St. Albans, Stephen found himself in a community where academic brilliance was both expected and celebrated. He was, however, not a prodigy in the stereotypical sense. His early school years were marked by a certain casualness toward rote learning and formal assessments. Teachers noted a tendency toward daydreaming and speculation, preferring open-ended questions over factual recitation. Yet when it came to understanding how things worked, Stephen revealed a formidable intellect, whether constructing elaborate model trains or devising complex board games for his friends and siblings. Much of Hawking's early inspiration came not from his official curricula, but from casual exposure to the night sky. He spent countless evenings peering through basic telescopes or simply gazing upward from his garden, wondering about the distances, the mechanisms, and the unfathomable vastness spread above. These moments, shared often with his family, sowed the first seeds of a lifelong obsession with astronomy and cosmology. Socially, Hawking was quietly humorous, well-liked, and adept at forming strong but selective friendships. He was part of a group of equally high-spirited friends, known to invent games and competitions, many of which required a healthy dose of logic and problem-solving. The sense of camaraderie and mutual encouragement imbued Stephen with confidence, fostering an enduring belief in the power of collaboration, a theme that would echo throughout his scientific career, in many ways. Stephen's younger years were unremarkable, defined by the ordinary struggles and laughter of family life amid the gray-green English countryside. Yet, those years were shaped by the understated heroism of perseverance, his mother's steadfast support, his father's discipline, and a house where the pursuit of knowledge took precedence over material luxury. The stories of scientists and explorers filled his mind, and he grew to see himself not as an isolated genius, but as a humble participant in the great human adventure of discovery. Crucially, Stephen Hawking's childhood offered no ignoble predictions of fate or genius. Instead, it provided fertile ground for curiosity, resilience, and the ever-expanding horizon of big ideas, a constellation of influences that would light his path as he moved toward the renowned institutions of Oxford and beyond. Chapter 2. The Oxford Days. Formative Minds Collide. At 17, Stephen Hawking entered University College, Oxford, joining a centuries-old tradition of scholarship and debate. Contrary to the image of the lonely scientist, the Oxford Stephen was vivacious, competitive, and wholly engaged with the world around him. These years would profoundly shape his intellectual style, setting the stage for both professional brilliance and personal resilience. Initially, the transition to Oxford brought challenges. Having entered at a relatively young age, Stephen found himself among older and seemingly more prepared peers. The formality and tradition of the university could prove intimidating, but Hawking's quick wit and subtle humor soon won him friends and allies. He quickly distinguished himself, not only for his intellect, but for his skill in conversation, his talent in rowing coxswain, and his propensity for chasing after the most difficult questions in physics. The academic pace at Oxford, however, was both liberating and exacting. Stephen was drawn to physics and mathematics for their ability to explain the cosmos on the grandest of scales. But the lectures themselves were often uninspiring. Much of his real learning came from independent study, lively arguments with classmates, and the intellectual wrestling that took place over tea or late at night in student rooms. He developed a reputation for solving problems quickly, sometimes almost effortlessly, adopting a competitive stance that belied a latent need for challenge beneath his relaxed academic approach. Beyond the curriculum, Hawking's time at Oxford was marked by the making and sometimes breaking of formative relationships. As a member of the university's coxing team, he honed skills of leadership and resilience, steering boats through rigorous practice in the early morning cold. The camaraderie of the river fostered bonds, healthy rivalry, and a sense of belonging that would prove crucial in the years to come. While his prowess with numbers and physical intuition became increasingly obvious, Stephen wrestled internally with questions about purpose and ambition. The Oxford environment encouraged not only the exchange of ideas, but an openness to new ways of thinking about existence itself, questions of origins, destiny, and the meaning behind all things. These late-night debates and formal discussions were as formative as any academic lecture. Yet, under the surface, there was also uncertainty. Stephen often worried about not living up to the expectations set by his father or by the traditions of Oxford itself. He sometimes downplayed his abilities, cultivating an aura of nonchalance while quietly seeking the next mountain to climb. It was during these years that Stephen's aspirations began to solidify, to push the boundaries of knowledge, to confront the most intractable problems of the universe, and to do so not in isolation, but in collaboration with others. As graduation loomed, Hawking faced a critical crossroads. The prospect of doctoral study beckoned, but so too did the realization that life outside the comforting confines of Oxford would demand even greater reserves of courage and creativity. With honors secured and ambitions sharpened, Stephen set his sights on Cambridge, unaware that the coming years would bring trials not just of the mind, but of the body and spirit. In these formative Oxford days, Stephen Hawking forged the intellectual tools, personal relationships, and sense of self that would become the foundation for his extraordinary contributions to science and the world beyond. Chapter 3. Cambridge and Catastrophe. Diagnosis and Defiance. The transition from Oxford to Cambridge was, for Stephen Hawking, akin to crossing a new horizon in both academic ambition and personal destiny. Cambridge, with its illustrious history and legendary faculty, represented the zenith of scientific inquiry, and for the young Hawking, it was both exhilarating and daunting. Upon his arrival in 1962, Stephen's enthusiasm for research was palpable. He immersed himself in the dynamic environment of the Department of Applied Mathematics and Theoretical Physics, where cutting-edge questions regarding the universe's origins animated late-night discussions. The tradition of discovery stretching from Newton through Dirac imbues Cambridge's halls with an air of expectation. Hawking, eager yet untested, was determined to make his mark. Yet, behind the scholarly excitement, a specter of unease shadowed his days. At Oxford, Stephen had begun experiencing an increasing clumsiness, bouts of stumbling, occasional falls, a troubling weakness in his hands. What at first seemed trivial soon evolved into persistent symptoms, prompting concern amid the unrelenting demands of doctoral study. The diagnosis arrived with shocking finality. At just 21, Stephen Hawking was told he had amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, a progressive neurodegenerative disease. The prognosis was devastating. A gradual loss of motor function, rapid physical decline, and by the doctor's estimation, no more than 2 or 3 years to live. For a brief moment, time seemed to halt. The grand questions of cosmology that had so animated his spirit felt suddenly distant, irrelevant in the face of an existential crisis. Overwhelmed by fear and depression, Hawking withdrew into himself, wrestling with the cruel joke of circumstance. The universe he so passionately sought to understand now posed its most intimate mystery. How does one choose to live amid the shadows of death? But Hawking's story, even at its darkest, is one of remarkable defiance. The love and support from his family, his friends, and in particular from Jane Wilde, who would become his first wife, ignited a reluctant but growing resolve to fight back. Rather than succumbing to despair, he redirected his energy into what he knew best, the mind's power to reshape reality. Where there's life, there's hope. He would later write a mantra that guided him not just to endure, but to flourish. Academia, too, offered salvation. Hawking's early work focused on singularities, points in space where the gravitational field becomes infinite, as in the heart of a black hole or the instant of the Big Bang. his thesis, probing the conditions necessary for a universe to begin at a singularity, was soon recognized as pioneering. Far from shrinking in the face of his disease, Hawking's intellectual ambitions reached further, fueled by a sense of urgency and philosophical gravitas born of his battle with mortality. Jane's presence brought new meaning and discipline to his days. Their marriage marked not only a testament to love, but a defiant stand against fate. As his physical abilities declined, Hawking's stubborn humor, sharp wit, and sheer willpower became legendary among colleagues. With growing reliance on wheelchairs, and later, voice synthesizers, he devised ways to work around his physical limitations, transforming apparent weaknesses into sources of innovation. Thus, in Cambridge's storied courts, Stephen Hawking began a pattern that would define his life, confronting the most daunting barriers, scientific, personal, existential, by pushing beyond their confines. Diagnosis did not diminish him. It stripped away distractions, leaving only the essentials: mind, passion, and an unwavering belief in the value of asking big questions. The crucible of catastrophe, rather than ending Stephen Hawking's journey, forged the foundation for his most enduring scientific triumphs and shaped a life story that would inspire the world. Chapter 4. Cracking the Cosmos, Black Holes and Revelations. Having conquered the shadows cast by LS's diagnosis, Hawking plunged with renewed intensity into the mysteries of the cosmos. The 1970s and early 1980s became a period of startling innovation, years in which Stephen Hawking, against all odds, would rewrite the boundaries of our understanding of black holes and the birth of the universe. Hawking's early work had focused on the mathematical conditions that produced singularities, especially those suggested by Einstein's field equations. In general relativity, alongside fellow mathematician Sir Roger Penrose, he published landmark theorems demonstrating that singularities were not mathematical oddities, but physical realities. Their work provided rigorous underpinning to the idea that the universe itself began at a singularity, the Big Bang, yet it was in the realm of black holes that Hawking made his most unexpected leap. For years, black holes had been defined by their implacable mystery regions of space where gravity was so strong that not even light could escape, rendering them cosmic cul-de-sacs. According to prevailing orthodoxy, anything entering a black hole would be lost forever, its information erased in a kind of cosmic amnesia. But Hawking dared to ask, was this the end of the story? In a tour de force of theoretical imagination, Hawking combined principles of quantum mechanics with general relativity and revealed a startling conclusion. Black holes, contrary to all expectations, were not entirely black. Instead, they emitted radiation, a faint but inevitable leakage of energy now renowned as Hawking radiation. If a black hole could emit radiation, it could evaporate over astronomical timescales, leaving behind tantalizing paradoxes about the fate of information in the cosmos. The implications were profound. Hawking's theory appended decades of scientific thought, launching fierce debates that reached far beyond astrophysics, touching on the very foundations of quantum theory and our understanding of reality. His insight bridged seemingly irreconcilable aspects of physics, expediting the long journey toward a unified theory, a quest that continues to this day. Hawking's achievements during these years were inseparable from his growing legend. By now, declining physical health had forced him to adopt new technologies, from electric wheelchairs to early computers, and eventually, the voice synthesizer that would become his audible signature. Yet rather than hinder his work, these adaptations propelled him ever further. The tools became extensions of his mind, allowing him to craft papers, give lectures, and engage in wide-ranging collaborations with physicists across the globe. The world took notice. Hawking became a symbol not only of intellectual genius, but of the unconquerable human spirit. Scientists and lay people alike marveled at the audacity of his ideas and at the determination that saw him continue to work at the highest levels, long after most would have retreated through tireless inquiry, collaboration, and resilience. Stephen Hawking cracked open the blackest mysteries of the universe and shared their revelations with a world hungry for wonder. His work did not answer every question, but instead illuminated new pathways, a testament to both the reach of his mind and the depth of his curiosity. Chapter 5. The Brief History of Time, Fame and the Public Eye. By the late 1980s, Stephen Hawking had already established himself as a titan of science, but it was his incursion into the world of popular writing that would transform him into a true global icon. In 1988, after years of meticulous effort, A Brief History of Time was published, a book that would not only change its author's life, but also the landscape of science communication. Hawking undertook the project with a clear, if ambitious, motivation to explain the most profound questions of the universe to non-scientists' questions about the nature of time, the origin and fate of the cosmos, black holes, and the search for a unified theory of physics. His aim was nothing less than to make the abstract and the infinite accessible, to allow lay people to glimpse the same wonders that inspired lifetime scientific devotion. Yet the project was far from straightforward. His disease had by now progressed to the point of near total paralysis, rendering communication painfully slow. Using a single cheek muscle and a painstaking computer interface, Hawking labored over each sentence, striving for lucidity and elegance amid abstraction. Colleagues, friends, and editors cycled in and out of the process, offering suggestions, clarifications, and encouragement. Upon publication, A Brief History of Time achieved a success few could have foreseen, remaining on the London Sunday Times bestseller list for a record-breaking 237 weeks. The book demystified black holes, time travel, and the origins of the universe, and became, for many, a rite of passage well thumbed by the curious, referenced by the bold. The book's success propelled Hawking to global stardom. He became a sought-after lecturer, a subject of documentaries and films, and a regular guest on talk shows and television programs. His computer-generated voice, once a technological necessity, became a familiar, almost comforting sound to millions. Hawking stepped into the unpredictable realm of media and celebrity with the same wit and humility that marked his work, reaching audiences far beyond academia. But fame brought challenges as well as opportunities. The relentless demands of public life sometimes clashed with the solitary concentration required for original science. Hawking's personal life was not immune to strain. The demands of fame and increasing reliance on caregivers put enormous burdens on his relationships, especially within his family. Marriage to Jane eventually ended, but their partnership had undeniably shaped Hawking's most productive years. Nevertheless, Stephen embraced his public role with characteristic aplomb. He understood better than most that science, at its heart, was a human endeavor, one that demanded not cloistered isolation, but open dialogue, daring explanations, and the courage to ask and share the biggest questions. Through A Brief History of Time and a torrent of subsequent books, lectures, and interviews, he ignited a passion for the cosmos in generations who might otherwise have never known its allure. Stephen Hawking's journey from the quiet halls of academia to the harsh glare of the public eye was the journey of science itself, from arcane enclaves to everyday culture, from singular insights to universal wonder. Chapter 6. Setbacks, Spirit, and Science. Living with Owls. Stephen Hawking's life story is, above all, one of resilience. The onset and progression of a LSA amyotrophic lateral sclerosis would have spelled retreat or resignation for most. Yet for Hawking, the disease became paradoxically both a crucible and a catalyst, forging a new kind of determination that fueled his groundbreaking work and public persona. ALS, a relentless neurodegenerative disorder, gradually robs its victims of the ability to move, speak, and even breathe unaided. When Hawking received his diagnosis in his early 20s, the future seemed a grim and narrow corridor. Initially, the enormity of the challenge led Hawking to depression and withdrawal. But even in those darkest months, a spark of curiosity and humor persisted. As the disease advanced, Hawking's remarkable adaptability emerged. Each stage of decline, first walking with a cane, then relying on a wheelchair, next losing the use of his arms, and finally being unable to speak naturally, was met with innovation. Technological aids became his lifeline. First, a hand-controlled computer, later shifting to an ingenious device operated by a single cheek muscle, enabling him to write, communicate, and lecture. Hawking not only adapted, but also embraced these changes with panache. He frequently joked about his electronic voice, notably American accented, despite his British upbringing, saying, "It's become my trademark." His wheelchair, likewise, was not a mere symbol of limitation, but one of mobility, allowing him to travel the world, attend conferences, and even spin through university corridors with mischievous delight. Professionally, the increasing constraints of ALS compelled Hawking to hone his scientific style. Since writing complex equations became arduous, he developed an unparalleled reliance on mental visualization, holding entire systems of equations, models, and hypotheses in his head. Colleagues were awed by his ability to solve intricate problems without notes, often describing him as having a computer-like mind. His determination extended to his family life as well. Hawking, together with Jane and their children, cultivated a semblance of normalcy amid the extraordinary. The household was lively, filled with visitors, music, and laughter, a reflection of Stephen's refusal to let illness define the texture of his days. Yet, life with ALS brought profound emotional and psychological challenges. Hawking's marriage to Jane gradually strained under the pressure of 24-hour care, relentless public interest, and divergent religious and philosophical worldviews. Their eventual separation, though painful, testified to the complexity and humanity of Hawking's life away from the public eye. Hawking's perseverance was not about solitary heroics. It was about community, the tireless support of nurses, students, caregivers, and colleagues who enabled his continued contributions to science. He became a fierce advocate for disability rights and technological accessibility, demonstrating, through example as much as rhetoric, that limitations are not boundaries but frontiers. Through each setback, Hawking responded with spirit. He once quipped, "My expectations were reduced to 0 when I was 21. Everything since then has been a bonus." This outlook enabled him to find joy in his work, humor in adversity, and exhilaration in continued exploration. In the crucible of ALS, Stephen Hawking demonstrated that genius is not merely a function of intelligence, but of courage and resolve, an unyielding commitment to live, think, and dream beyond every imposed boundary. Chapter 7: Legacy in Motion. Breaking barriers, inspiring generations. Stephen Hawking's legacy extends far beyond the realm of theoretical physics. It is woven into the fabric of popular culture, education, and the collective human imagination. He became a symbol of intellectual prowess, resilience in the face of adversity, and the boundless potential of the human mind. His impact on science communication and the popularization of cosmology is unparalleled. Hawking's A Brief History of Time was a publishing phenomenon, selling millions of copies worldwide, and remaining on bestseller lists for years. Its success was not solely due to the scientific content, but also to Hawking's ability to convey complex ideas in an accessible and engaging manner. He demystified the universe for a general audience, inviting readers to contemplate the origins of time, the nature of black holes, and the possibility of parallel universes. Through his writing, he ignited a passion for science in countless individuals, inspiring a new generation of physicists, mathematicians, and curious minds. But Hawking's reach extended beyond the written word. He embraced new technologies to communicate with the world. His computerized voice, a product of his battle with ALS, became iconic, instantly recognizable, and a symbol of his triumph over physical limitations. He used his voice synthesizer not only for scientific lectures, but also for appearances on television shows, documentaries, and even animated series like The Simpsons and Futurama. These appearances further cemented his status as a cultural icon, making him a household name and a beloved figure. Hawking was a powerful advocate for science education and accessibility. He believed that everyone, regardless of their background or abilities, should have the opportunity to learn about the universe. He supported numerous initiatives aimed at promoting science literacy and encouraging young people to pursue careers in STEM fields. He was particularly passionate about making science accessible to individuals with disabilities, serving as a role model for aspiring scientists who faced similar challenges. His impact on the perception of disability is perhaps one of his most profound legacies. He defied stereotypes and shattered preconceptions about what individuals with disabilities can achieve. His accomplishments demonstrated that physical limitations are not necessarily intellectual limitations. He became a symbol of hope and empowerment for people with disabilities around the world, proving that they too can make meaningful contributions to society. Hawking's legacy is also evident in the numerous awards, honors, and accolades he received. Throughout his career, he was a recipient of the Albert Einstein Award, the Wolf Prize in Physics, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor in the United States. He was also a member of the Royal Society and the National Academy of Sciences. These honors recognized his scientific achievements, his contributions to science communication, and his impact on society beyond the formal recognition. Hawking's true legacy lies in the inspiration he provided to millions of people around the world. He demonstrated the power of the human mind, the importance of perseverance, and the boundless potential of human curiosity. He challenged us to look beyond the horizon, to question the assumptions, and to strive for a deeper understanding of the universe and our place within it. Chapter 8. A Universe Unfinished. Hawking's Enduring Questions. Even as Stephen Hawking's physical body succumbed to the relentless progression of ALS, his mind continued to probe the deepest mysteries of the cosmos. He remained actively engaged in research, writing, and lecturing until he died in 2018, leaving behind a legacy of unfinished questions and unresolved puzzles. One of Hawking's enduring obsessions was the quest for a unified theory of everything, a single framework that could explain all the fundamental forces of nature. He believed that such a theory was within reach and that its discovery would represent the ultimate triumph of human reason. While he made significant progress in this area, particularly through his work on quantum gravity and string theory, the unified theory remained elusive. Hawking also grappled with the paradoxes of black holes, enigmatic objects that challenge our understanding of space, time, and the laws of physics. He famously proposed the concept of Hawking radiation, which suggests that black holes are not entirely black, but emit a faint glow of particles due to quantum effects near their event horizons. This discovery revolutionized our understanding of black holes and their role in the universe. However, it also raised new questions about the fate of information that falls into a black hole, a conundrum known as the information paradox. The nature of time was another recurring theme in Hawking's work. He explored the possibility of time travel, the existence of wormholes, and the concept of imaginary time, a mathematical construct that allows us to circumvent the singularity at the beginning of the universe. He argued that time is not absolute, but is relative to the observer, and that the arrow of time, the direction in which time flows, is determined by the entropy of the universe. Hawking was also deeply interested in the origins of the universe. He proposed the concept of a no boundary universe, which suggests that the universe had no beginning and no end, existing in a state of eternal quantum fluctuation. This idea challenged the traditional notion of a singularity at the Big Bang and offered a new perspective on the creation of the cosmos. Furthermore, Hawking was a vocal advocate for the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI. He believed that the universe is likely teeming with life and that it is only a matter of time before we discover evidence of other civilizations. However, he also cautioned against actively seeking contact with alien beings, warning that they might not be friendly. Hawking's death did not mark the end of his intellectual journey. His ideas continue to inspire scientists and researchers around the world. His unfinished questions serve as a roadmap for future exploration, guiding us toward a deeper understanding of the universe and our place within it. The pursuit of a unified theory, the resolution of the black hole information paradox, the unraveling of the mysteries of time, the search for extraterrestrial life, these are just a few of the challenges that lie ahead. Stephen Hawking's legacy is not just a body of scientific knowledge, but also a call to action, an invitation to continue his quest for understanding, to push the boundaries of human knowledge, and to explore the universe with unwavering curiosity and determination. The universe remains unfinished, and it is up to us to continue the journey that Hawking began. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to support the channel, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an audiobook that could change your life. Now, let's begin. Enjoy.